Hello and welcome to part 2, how to paint a heavy weapons team. So as you can see in this image, I've also used this colour scheme and this technique for other heavy weapons teams. I have another conversion here, so I've just added this just to add a bit more to the video. The sort of machine gun nest that I've put this heavy weapons team in was made by using a coffee cup lid. There's a few other bits, like I've used some Bretonian head swaps, and I've tried to make the machine gun nest look like it's been half destroyed by making the concrete look like it'd been broken away and some underlying bricks. This was all achieved by using a coffee cup lid, some sprues and some wine bottle cork. So if you missed part 1 of this video, I request to create a heavy weapons team from the surviving tank crew of a destroyed Leman Russ. All the equipment and bits that I've used in this video are shown on screen now. I start by giving the model a black primer layer. I then base coat the Dozer blade using a mix of Iron Warriors and Abaddon Black with a ratio of 3:1. I add another layer to the Dozer blade and Vox by overbrushing with just Iron Warriors. If you're not familiar with overbrushing, it's like dry brushing, but you take less paint off the brush. So you're leaving behind more paint and giving more coverage to that layer. To highlight the Dozer blade, I dry brush on lead belcher. Some of these steps are pretty self-explanatory, so I'll let the video work its magic. With this wash, I'm hitting the entire troop models, so the fatigues, the armour and the flesh. I'm also applying the wash to the green areas on the weapons and any other green areas you have on the model. Once this wash is fully dried, you're looking to clean up all these areas with the same base colour. So you want to avoid any recesses to give a nice shading effect. I used Hairspray to create a chipping effect on the Dozer blade. In hindsight, I probably could have glued everything together after painting, but because I was sort of making this model up as I went along, it didn't really work out that way. I'm going to have to mask off a lot of fiddly bits on this model. When you're applying masking tape to a painted miniature, it's a good idea to apply the masking tape to some clothing beforehand. This takes away some of the stickiness and will prevent any paint from being removed when you're taking off the masking tape. For the chipping effect on the Dozer blade, I apply Hairspray and then a layer of Army Painter's Army Green. I use Hairspray because when you apply hot water to the top layer, it can then quite easily be removed, creating a chipping effect. However, I found this hairspray was quite hard to remove, and I think it's because it's quite a firm hold hairspray, so you may want to try a different hairspray for this. It did work in the end, but it was quite a lot of hard work to get to the paint to remove. And of course, always remember to let the paint or the hairspray dry between these steps, and of course use 2 thin coats. Once the second wash on the Dozer blade has been applied and left to dry, the masking tape can then be removed. I accidentally found out later on, whilst applying the chipping effect, that you also get a nice wear effect while removing the wash layer. Not quite as deep as a chip-in, but still looks like the paint has been worn in places. To create the chipping effect, I would normally use a wood stirrer or a lollipop stick to remove the chips of paint. But in this case, because the hairspray was quite a firm hold hairspray and stuck to the model quite well, I had to use a file or the end of a file to remove the top layer of paint. I also use hot water and apply this to the surface just to soften the hairspray so it would chip easier. To make the Dozer blade look worn and weathered, I used brown ink to show some corrosion around the rivets and runoff from the rivets, and also any broken exposed metal. There are other products on the market that will do a better job, but this is what I had at the time and it does the trick for me. I watered down the brown ink with 50-50 to do this. I decided to add a bit more texture to the Dozer blade to make it look like it had been dragged through the mud a bit more. You want the bases on your models to match the rest of your army, so it's a good idea to have your other models about when you're painting the bases. In the background here, I've got my Leman Russ tank where I've tried to create a wet earth mud effect on the tracks. So I want to try and create the exact same effect on this base. To give the earth a wet look effect, I'm using brown ink mixed with water, about 50-50. To build up the base colours, I'm using a lighter colour mixed in with the base colour. I first start with an overbrush and then work my way up to a dry brush, and you could add as many steps as you like in here, as long as you take off more paint from the brush each time so you can still see the layer below. I think you really only need 2 steps. I use this technique for the earth and the rocks.